Hey guys, Ixalan Magic here, and the pre-release is coming up for Ixalan, and luckily it's one of those pre-releases that only contains Ixalan. It's 6 boosters of Ixalan straight up, no mix. I know people like that for just, volume of new cards for building their deck the next week. That's always nice. But also, I don't know if you realize this, but when they change to, one set per block, so in other words, no blocks, it's always going to be 6. So that's great because I've heard a lot of complaints about that. I didn't care about it myself. Like when Eldritch Moon came out, I was like, yeah, I probably need some cards from Shadows. But only for the pre-release. I mean, I didn't need more cards from Shadows, so I kind of get people's point there. Well, I was going to make a video about just straight up all the absolute best cards, but holy crap is this entire set really damn good at the pre-release. I mean, there are just so many good sealed cards in here. It should be a really good, effective, strong decked pre-release. Oh, and it's also very, very clear to me what the most powerful color is. So because of that, we're just starting with white. So this is just part 1 of a potentially 5-part series about what the most powerful cards are, well, at least for now, in white. Now, one thing to keep in mind is how good are the commons in any given color, because, anybody can pull some bomb mythic or amazing rare, but you don't get very many of them. You get a ton of commons, though. It's either 60 or 66. I think it's 60. Those double-sided cards threw me so far off I don't remember what's in a damn booster anymore. So, powerful commons. I wonder if white has any of those. Check out Ritual of Rejuvenation. Absolute 100% automatic include if you are playing white. This just shrinks your deck and makes you not lose. Really simple. I mean, it's arguably a waste of a turn because, okay, 3 mana, okay, there goes your turn. But it's still like a really expensive cantrip. So just straight up, you gain 4 life, draw a card. I mean, the card replaces itself and you get a giant benefit out of it. I wish it cost maybe like 2, but that would be a little much. So yeah, put that in your deck, absolutely. I think, are they going to deal more than 4 damage to you on your turn? Maybe. I mean, this won't single-handedly turn around the game, but if you were to cast this on turn 3 when you're both probably at 20, yeah, this will help out a ton. So it's not amazing, it's just good. Next up, Priest of the Awakening Sun. This one's pretty obvious. It's a 1/1 for 1, cool. And then at the beginning of your upkeep, you may reveal a dinosaur card from your hand. If you do, you gain 2 life. So that could be every single turn. Now, if it's like a 6 or 7 cost dinosaur, fantastic. There's not very many of those in white, though. I mean, there's a couple. Now, even if you didn't get that, it's a 1/1 for 1. So, whatever. That's just a basic, okay, I don't have enough creatures, let's just throw something in kind of card. But if you pay 5 and sack it, you can search your library for a dinosaur card, reveal it, and put it into your hand, and then shuffle. So if you do have a hyper-powerful dinosaur and you just can't draw it, this will go get it when you have enough mana. And if you paid 5 for the ability, you probably have enough mana. So you could go get, I don't know, Awakening Sun's Avatar or whatever once you finally get to 8 mana. So if I had a relatively high-cost dinosaur, even just 1 in the deck, I would definitely include this. Gaining 2 life every single turn is devastating, trust me. Next up, Ashes of the Abhorrent. Pretty obvious one here. Whenever a creature dies, you gain 1 life. That's on both sides, so it's ongoing life gain, which is very, very good in sealed. And then players can't cast spells from graveyards or activate abilities of cards in graveyards. So this is just kind of like Authority of the Consoles. It's just like a nice little thing to bring out early game, and then, oh, maybe you get like 8 life off of it. Now, it's not like an auto-include, because if you don't have enough creatures, you're not going to win the game. That card is not going to win you the game. It's just nice. So only throw it in if you have the room. Next up, Duskborn Sky Marcher. It's a 1/1 with flying for 1, so that just automatically is an automatic include, because can they block it? Maybe. Is it worth blocking? Yeah, I mean, it's a 1/1. If they have anything with more than 1 toughness, they'll block it. But is it worth, them getting pounded every single turn, losing 1 life every single turn? Is it worth it to waste a kill spell on this? I mean, maybe they probably will, but you probably have something more worthwhile. So yeah, absolute lightning rod. So I love cards like this. Plus, you can pay 1, tap it, and then target attacking vampire gets +1/+1 until end of turn. So if you have a bigger flyer and they have a giant flying blocker, that's a solution. Otherwise, if you just want some big lifelinker on the ground to get even bigger so that he can swing, there it is. So you got options. I absolutely love that card. Next up, Rallying Roar. It's a 3 cost instant, and I love a lot of these spells because they're just 1 white, real simple. Double white is a little bit harder to pull off. Creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. Untap them. Really, really simple. It's not even like 2 creatures get untapped. It's all of them. Now, 1/1 isn't a very reliable ambush, but the fact that you get to untap them. So, okay, you swung all out, and they're like, well, obviously I'm going to counter swing. Boom! Not only did you hit them last turn, but they just got a bunch of the creatures killed. So it's a little narrow, but the other thing is you could just attack, and then, okay, they choose blockers, they don't choose blockers, who cares? Boom, drop this. Not only did they all just untap for, defensive purposes now, but you did a bunch more damage. So whether you have giant creatures and you just want to ambush block, or you have a bunch of small creatures and you want to get a lot of value out of this card, it's just good. So this is just a darn good card. Next up, Emissary of the Sunrise, another very reasonable 3 cost. It's a 2/1 first striker, and when it enters the battlefield, it explores. Now, if you don't remember what that does, reveal the top card of your library, put that card in your hand if it's a land, otherwise put a 1/1 counter on this creature, then put that card back, or put it into your graveyard. So, a lot going on there. I mean, I'd take any of those 3, honestly. So it would be cool if it was a 3 first striker, so hopefully it does whiff. Otherwise, it'll kind of ramp into another better spell automatically. And honestly, even for 3, 2 first strike is good. I mean, people are going to be throwing some big stuff at you maybe eventually, but it's really just the mid-sized kind of subpar creatures that they were forced to include because nobody's pool is perfect. Those are the cards that will get absolutely stomped by a 2/1 first striker. Next up, we've got a really, really amazing card. I mean, this thing is just unreal. So it is a 4 cost, but, that's very, very doable in pre-release because it's going to be a lot slower. It's a 2/3 with Vigilance, so it's basically never tapping. And then if you pay 2 and tap it, it deals damage equal to its toughness, which is 3, to target creature blocking or blocked by it. And need I remind you that you can activate that before combat actually resolves. This thing is virtually unstoppable. I mean, the only downside is it only does 2 damage for 4 mana. And yeah, that is a big downside, but holy crap is this good. So, okay, you swing and you don't tap, and then, they blocked it. Well, you could immediately, let's say they blocked it with, I don't know, what would be a good example? Okay, they blocked it with 3/3. Okay, cool. So you pay 2, tap it, and it deals 3 damage to the 3/3 before combat even resolves. Now, your attack would not go through because it has already been blocked, and it doesn't have trample. That's just how that works, even though the defender is gone. I should say the blocker is gone, not the defender. So yeah, that would be amazing because normally it would be a trade. Now, you could swing against a 5/5 and immediately deal 3 damage, then let combat resolve, and you actually hit them for the 2, and that's 5, and then you trade. So this creature is so good. And the other thing is, okay, they could swing at you with a 6/2 creature, which I'm sure doesn't exist. And then, okay, I'll just block it, and then immediately in response, boom, I'll tap it and deal 3 damage. It's dead. Didn't even have to touch it. It's almost like first strike death touch. I mean, it's a little bit weaker than that, but yeah, it's damn good. Next up, the card that I bet other YouTubers will pronounce completely incorrectly, Pious Interdiction. This is a 4-cost enchantment, so it's up there a little bit. It's an aura, and whenever it enters the battlefield, you gain 2 life. That's cool. And then enchanted creature can't attack or block, so it just absolutely shuts down one of the creatures. It's not true removal, but, I mean, can they really sacrifice it? I mean, they could still activate abilities of it, so this is just bad. I mean, it's not a very good spell in general, but at the pre-release, remember, any kind of removal, and I would consider this removal, is just good. Like, it's almost an automatic include. So for this to just absolutely shut down one of their creatures, yeah, I would put it in almost regardless. Plus, you gain 2 life. So speaking of gaining life, Sanguine Sacrament. This card's insane, and it's a rare, so, good luck pulling it. But this is just hilarious, because you could unleash this at the most opportune time and just flip the whole game around. So, straight up, white X, you gain twice X life, and then you put this on the bottom of its owner's library. So if you have some kind of weird way to scry and draw, I guess I would say, or honestly just shuffle your deck one time for some reason, ta-da, might show its head again. And if you have like 8 mana on the field, oh my god, I mean, you'd be gaining 12 life twice. That is awfully hard for your opponent to keep chipping away at you. I mean, even if they have an absolutely dominant board state, this could buy you enough time to get to, I don't know, basically a better creature or some removal or something like that. Next up, Legion's Judgment. This one's, it's unreliable, it's a sorcery, it's overcosted, but it's still removal. Target creature, or if I could read today, destroy target creature with power 4 or greater. So, I mean, yeah, if you have a really, really annoying creature that just coincidentally happens to only have 3 power, okay, you're not getting rid of it, but if something truly horrific just hit the battlefield, this will take it out. So, I would probably put this in most cases. Remember, you can always sideboard it out after the first game. If it looks like your opponent doesn't have anything big, it's all just cheap, fast, rush, just take this out and put anything else in there, even another creature, just to throw it in the way of their stupid rush. Next up, another rare, but hey, Goring Ceratops, or as I like to call it, Big Fat Turkey Head. This is a 7 cost, but hey, it doesn't get blown up by that card I just said because it's a 3/3. But it has double strike. And get this, whenever it attacks, other creatures you control gain double strike. Holy crap. Now, in general, I don't like 7 cost spells because they're really hard to get out at the pre-release. If it's in your opening hand, it's just an absolute bone anchor. And if your opponent's playing, all 1, 2, 3 costs and it's just cheap rush, this card's useless to you. But you can always sideboard it out, remember that, so I'd probably put it in just because if it comes out, the game's basically over. I mean, unless they have like some kind of removal spell that they either top decked or were holding the whole time, this is just going to absolutely dominate. Next up, Kinjali's Sunwing. I'm starting to think that they would find that Golden City pretty damn quickly if they would just ride one of these, and I think one of the other cards I'm not featuring in this list is somebody riding on one of them. I mean, you could scan for like 5 miles in the jungle without even a damn telescope. I mean, how hard is it to find this damn city? Although if you read the lore, it might be Kaladesh. It exists on a different plane, and then the people got booted out of Kaladesh and trapped on Ixalan. That's the theory, at least. Anyway, this is a 2/3 flyer for 3, and creatures your opponent's control enter the battlefield tapped. So you kind of buy yourself a turn. Not really, because, okay, they can't block with it, so you might get 1 extra swing, but otherwise it's not like you're going to get hit unless the thing has haste. So it's not great, but, it's 2 damage in the air consistently with a kind of nice side effect for just 3 mana, so yeah, I'd absolutely put this in. Next up, one of the most powerful cards in the entire set, hands down. It's a 4-cost instant, and it's double white, which it should be. Exile all attacking creatures target player controls. That player may search his or her library for that many basic land cards, put those cards onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle his or her library. Okay, at the pre-release, that might legitimately be the rest of their lands, just about. So they're going to pull very, very, very few lands out of their 40-card deck, after that, but it may or may not help them. This is just devastating to their board state. Now, I wouldn't do it if they had 2 creatures unless you're, really going to lose to those 2 creatures. But if they had like 8 and some of them are, vampire tokens, whatever, yeah, why not? They can go get the rest of their lands. I don't care. Just hope that they don't bring out like a 7-cost or an X spell after that. So it is risky, but getting rid of every single creature they're attacking with, this is Aether Spouts on steroids. And next up, oh yes, it's a mythic. Axis of Mortality. This card is just stupid. I hate everything about it, and I also love it. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may have 2 target players exchange life totals. Obviously, utterly hilarious in multiplayer. This is going straight into my commander deck. But at the pre-release, what would your opponent even do? Like, what would be the strategy here? Stop hitting you? They know you're going to flip it. They'd have to eliminate their own life total and your life total and then not accidentally lose the game in the meantime. During your upkeep, if they have a higher life total, you're swapping it. Simple as that. And then if they hit you, you'll swap it back. Now, it does cost 6 and it doesn't in itself win the game, but it's so impossible to play around. I'd throw it in just for laughs. It's going to get awfully narrow at the end there, but your opponent's just going to have a nightmare of a time playing against it, and that's just funny to me. So yeah, I'd put it in the deck. Next up, I absolutely love this card, even though it costs 5. Bright Reprisal. Destroy target attacking creature, and then draw a card. So they do have to actually be swinging at you, but there's no other thing like, size limitation, or has to be tapped, or anything. So, yeah, you get a card out of it, so it's like a removal spell that replaces itself. Still, I think it should have cost 4. I think 5 is utterly outrageous. But like I said, removal is removal, so why not? Next up, the whole reason Jace and Pirate Dude are stuck on the plane, Ixalan's Binding. Every time they try to planeswalk, that happens from Fullmetal Alchemist. So, when it enters the battlefield, exile target non-land permanent and opponent controls until Ixalan Binding leaves the battlefield. Your opponents can't cast spells with the same name, which, yeah, good luck with that. I mean, if they did pull 3 or 4 of the same card, I mean, I've seen it happen. It is 6 boosters of the same set, and the set's not that big. But, we'll just ignore that bottom part. I think that'll be amazing in Standard constructed. But other than that, I mean, okay, it's removal for 4. And it's not just creature removal. You can remove anything other than a land. So this is a fantastic card. I hope that I pull multiple of it. Now, next up, no surprise here. This card's just damn good in general. Bishop of Rebirth. Costs 5 and it's a 3/4, but trust me, it's worth it because it has vigilance, which is cool. And whenever it attacks, which is nice because it has vigilance, you may return target creature card with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. That is exactly what probably got killed in the early game, so as soon as this comes out, bring everything back. And remember, you could get it killed again and then bring it back again. There's no, oh, and then exile it the next time it dies, like some kind of Whip of Erebos or whatever. So this card's insane. I mean, it's just absolutely bonkers insane. You would almost have to, like, put a couple 3 or less cost creatures in, but if you didn't, like, what the hell are you building? Like, that wouldn't even work. That deck would just be too slow. And I mean, they didn't even say white creatures. It's just, this card's insane. So next up, we've got Imperial Aerosaur. This is just solid. It's a 3/3 flyer for 4. And then whenever it enters the battlefield, another target creature gains +1/+1. And flying until end of turn. So that's like 1 free hit on a creature that might not have been big enough to safely swing, because now it's flying, theoretically. Obviously, if they have a flyer, that falls apart. And then this one could sit on defense, which is nice because, it's flying and it's a 3/3. And then the next turn, you can swing with this. So just nice little simple synergy. And even if you miss the trigger, even if this is the only creature you have on the battlefield at the time, it's still a 3/3 flyer for 4. I mean, that's a lot of damage every single turn. And next up, keeping it real simple, no surprises here. This one's so obvious. Bishop Soldier. It's a 2/2 with lifelink for 2. That's it. Now, it is a soldier. I don't know if there's any interaction with that, but it's a vampire. That I know there's interactions with. I feel like after the pre-release, this is going to be the bread and butter of any white deck. I mean, especially a life gain deck or a vampire deck, because it's just good. Even if it dies, like especially to a kill spell, they wasted that kill spell, but not really because you're, increasing the life gap by 4 every time you swing. Well, assuming you actually hit them. So, okay, they eventually bring out a 2/3 and then block and kill it. Okay, great. I mean, if you even bothered to swing with it. You still gain 2 life off that, so I mean, it's just good. It's just plain good. Next up, oh yes, it keeps going. I mean, white is going to just utterly dominate the pre-release. It's Inspiring Cleric, 3/2 for 3, so pretty good, and whenever it enters the battlefield, you gain 4 life. So not only is it a very reasonably good creature that deals a lot of damage in the mid-game, but you gain 4 life, so just like I said for all the other cards, it's just plain good. Nothing complicated, no combo to go off, it's just, oh look, a card that isn't bad. Next up, the most vampire-y name I've ever heard, Mavrin Fane, Dusk Apostle. He's a 3-cost 2/2 legendary vampire cleric, and whenever 1 or more non-token vampire creatures you control attacks, create a 1/1 white vampire creature token with lifelink. So it's a little narrow because you'd have to have other vampires, but there's quite a few of them in white. At the pre-release, anything that can create tokens recurringly, on a recurring basis, I guess would be the proper way to say that. Those effects are so good. And, I mean, they have lifelink, so even if you chump block, you get some benefit out of that. They're not flying, though, so keep that in mind, but, I mean, that's amazing. Now, this guy would be completely useless if you don't have a lot of other vampires, so keep that in mind, but he's probably the best vampire tribal card that you could pull if you can pull off vampires. And that is it. I mean, there's some other, solid but not noteworthy cards in white. So, could you make a cohesive deck? Yeah. I mean, in fact, I think there's like a 0/3 blocker. That's all right. There's a flying 1/3 for 2. That's all right. Not worth mentioning, but, I mean, just look at this list of cards. It's insane. There's like so many good white cards. I mean, it featured 21 of them, and a lot of them are commons, and some of them are even uncommons. In fact, I only mentioned 1 mythic, so your odds of pulling really good, solid, amazing non-rares are really high. Now, that said, I haven't looked at the other colors yet, so stay tuned for the future videos covering the other colors. Good luck at the pre-release, and I will see you guys next video.